How's everybody doing today? Good? You know, wasn't Thomas's keynote uplifting? Super uplifting. Thomas was talking to you yesterday about your companies and about the challenges your companies face. I want to talk to you about you and the challenges you're going to face. Before I do, I want to tell you a story of disruption. And it's a story I hope you will never, ever forget. And you'll understand why by the end of this presentation. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, consumer computing was just becoming a thing, right? IBM made PCs, remember that, right? IBM and HP and Compaq. Companies like Microsoft and Adobe were emerging as consumer software companies for the first time. And all of those companies who had grown up supporting enterprises for a fee, serving enterprises for a fee, were experimenting with some degree of success at servicing consumers for free. Microsoft was working on consumer support packages. Dell and others were working on hardware service packages. And in 1993, Compaq made a decision that changed everything. They offered the first ever 3-year unlimited warranty for both hardware service and software support on the PC. HP had to follow. IBM had to follow. Consumers stopped wanting to pay for services across hardware, across software. The service revenues associated with consumer technology went to zero. That day, when Compaq announced that 3-year warranty, it was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. What happened to services is the accountants took over because it was expensive and there was no revenue to offset it. You guys ever heard of outsource offshoring? That moment is what drove every major consumer tech company at the time to start the journey to outsource and offshore. And you know what? For the next 10 years, consumer support sucked. Remember that? Remember trying to get somebody on the phone to answer your question, and phone trees and wait times and difficult to understand, pass you around? You know why? Because we weren't ready for it. We got forced into it. And we went too early. And we really hurt our customers. Okay? Remember that story. Thomas had this chart a year ago. And basically he just said, hey, look, we're all on this journey that's AI-fueled, AI-driven, and we're starting in different places. Some of us are connected to our technology. Some of us are not connected to our technology. Some of us have really aggressive CEOs and CFOs around the use of AI. Some of us, not so much. It doesn't matter where you start from. We're all going to go on a journey. And over the course of this period, a lot of ideas are going to come across your desk. We could do this. We could do that. And I would encourage you to just think about those ideas using this simple framework. The first part is obvious. If we do this, does it reduce our cost? Or is it neutral? Or does it actually add cost? Because some of these ideas will actually add cost. But I also want you to think about a second vector. What will this do to the perceived value of our service offers. Now, some are going to come at you and they're going to be no-brainers. Like, you're going to be like, why the hell would we do that? It doesn't really reduce costs. It doesn't add a lot of value to the proposition. Like, why? There's going to be other ones that are also super easy to do. You're going to be like, that's a great idea. That doesn't compromise the value proposition, but it cuts costs. Or it adds value to the customer. It helps us do things and serve customers in ways we haven't been able to do before. Both those categories of decisions, super easy. Then it starts to get tough. What about things that are going to cut our cost but detract from the value proposition of our services? What about ideas that are actually going to add to the value proposition but might actually cost us more money than things we're doing today? That's where you come in. Being able to make those decisions, not the no-brainer ones, why would we do that? The obvious ones, of course we want to do that. It's the one in these two boxes, and you're going to get a lot of them, that I want to talk to you about. We've been in this industry for a long time together, and we understand how services work. And for years, I've been saying we love our complexity, right? That's what we're there for. We're there to help our customers navigate the complexity of our solutions. We monetize our complexity. We demo our complexity. We have partners who live because of the existence of complexity. And when we thought about complexity, we said, well, geez, there are steps along the road to business value that our customers need help with. Some of those are relatively easy. Some of those are super hard. And so we would develop service features. We'd say, hey, on this journey, they're going to need to be, implemented, integrated, educated, adopted, onboarded, blah, 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 blah. And then we put those features together into bundles. We had our support offer. We had our PS offer. We had our CS offer. Those are the things we know how to do. That's what we all have experience with. Developing service capabilities that help customers navigate the complexity of our solutions. We bundle them, we sell them, they have revenue associated with them. We have, hopefully, P&Ls that reflect gross profit. That's the way things have been. That's the way you got your job. You got your job because you said, hey, I have 20 years of experience at that model. I know what those service features are. I know how to operationalize them. I know what the bundles should be. Whatever your area of responsibility is, you've built a career learning what those business models and what those business capabilities are. And you knew what good looked like. From TSIA or your past experience, you knew what good looked like. And that's why you got your jobs. Now here comes this thing, AI. And I want to say that it is part evolution and part disruption. And I think it's super important for you to be able to pick apart the evolutions from the disruptions. We can all agree it's a new way. Does everybody agree? There's going to be a new way of doing things, right? Does everybody also agree that this is super immature? That we don't yet know the way through all this? It could reset our offers. It could reset our best practices. It could reset what good performance looks like. Does everyone also agree that's where we are right now? We are about to encounter, starting to encroach on this new way of doing things. It's not a year out, it's not 6 months out, it's now. It's now. The reason we had Salesforce on the stage is, as Martin mentioned, they are customer zero. They're one of the first companies to really build, they're using their own product, but hey, but they have experience actually building AI agents, deploying AI agents. We wanted you to hear what's going well and what's not going well. You know, what was it, 7 things he said that they taught the agents to do? 7 things. Not 700 things, 7 things. It will be 700 things. But right now, it's 7. We are in the early phase of the intersection of the old way and the new way. One of the challenges is that one of the promises of AI is to systematically reduce the complexity your customers encounter in buying, deploying, integrating, using your technology. Some cases, they won't even have people using your technology. They're going to have their agents using your technology. But wait a minute. Complexity is the backbone of our service value proposition. That's what we've always sold. What if AI begins to eat away at the core of the value proposition of services? It's going to. What isn't AI going to touch across the customer journey? It's going to touch every part of it. It's going to change the kind of projects. It's going to change who's doing the projects. There's going to be integration agents. Integrate to that application, integrate to that application. There's going to be headless UI agents, as I mentioned. I say, you think salespeople are going to be using their keyboard to open opportunities for CRM? No way. They're going to say, open an opportunity for Mitsubishi Electric, and it's going to open the opportunity. It's going to go get all the non-structured data it possibly can, all the executives, and it's going to be a different world. You're going to have agents across the support journey, the customer success journey. All of these things are going to change. I want to ask you 2 existential questions. Number 1, does your company want AI to reduce labor costs? Hands up. Does your company want AI to reduce labor costs? Okay. That was the warm-up question. Here's the real existential question. Does your company like its services revenue? Does your company like its services revenue? Now, let me tell you why that's an important existential question. Of course, you have revenue coming from services. Who doesn't love revenue? That's the obvious answer. The not so obvious answer is many of your companies, in their DNA, are product folks, right? They're engineers, they're product folks, and they're like, hey, if we could just eliminate the need for all these services, that'd be kind of cool. We could just have the product do everything, deploy all the AI in the product, have it do everything, eliminate all the complexity. Yeah, we'd lose some services revenue, but we can probably charge more for the products that do all that stuff. Wouldn't that be great for customers? Wouldn't that be great for us? There's a lot of people at your companies who believe that. That's who they are. Now, how does that show up for you? One of the ways it shows up for you is you're going to get asked, what current functions can mostly be powered by AI? Everything we used to do. How can you use AI to take cost out of those models, to replace labor-based processes with automated processes? Of course you're going to get that question. You need to ask yourself a second question. If I eliminate the labor in those processes, how is that going to show up in terms of value to customers? Am I going to do what Compact forced everybody else to do, which is to basically not charge for services anymore? Not charge for services anymore. We know where that takes us. What happens next when there's no revenue associated with any part of your business, including services? What happens to services? Right? This question of protecting, defending, and growing the value proposition associated with services and balancing the demands on you to cut costs with this second question in your mind about the impact of some of those moves on the value proposition and the revenue associated with your services portfolio is something that you owe it, as I'm going to say in a minute, to your employees, your shareholders, and your customers to think. I mean, let's face it, where's the heat today? Inside your company, between these two things, where's the heat? I can tell you, we have all the questions coming from all of you. The heat's around using AI to take costs out of the model. And it's not even close. It's like 90-10. Those are the questions we're getting asked. How do you do this? How do you do that? Because we're very interested in taking cost out of the model. And you know, I said evolution or disruption. I want to tell you, I'm not worried about this piece. It's actually evolution. You are super pros at cost takedown using automation. This is just different technology. And I don't know how, up to speed you all are on the actual AI technology. It is not that hard. The actual technology, the tools that you've got to do these things are remarkable. You can literally do things, the development part, in days and weeks. Don't be worried about the technology. Be worried about the stuff that you are pros at. If your processes stink manually, your agent's going to stink. If your data stinks, your agent is going to stink, right? But hell, data, process, technology, that's what you do for a living. I am not worried about our ability to build agents, to take cost out of the model, to even improve the customer experience. What I am worried about is the revenue associated at your company with your services. I'm really worried about that. I'm not sure if we just take the current service features and use AI to accelerate them. Customers are going to have a hard time telling what's coming out of the product. Like, was that a service that just happened to me, or was it part of the product? Was that something, a self-service experience that I don't place a lot of value on? I didn't talk to an expert there. I have value. I know when I have an expert that costs the company money, and I'm willing to pay for that. But what about when I get my problem solved and I never talk to an expert? How much am I willing to pay for that? I am worried about this. And I got to tell you, complexity was the word of the last age of services. It's still there. It's not going to zero for sure. The new world of services is around optimization, helping customers, as Thomas said, you becoming black belts in value realization. Complexity, one thing. AI is going to eat away at that, make it harder to monetize. What you need to balance that with is optimization. How do services continually and systematically monitor and drive customers to the next level, the next leg of value in your solutions? And that's what Thomas was talking about when he was talking yesterday about these radars and engagement models and value realization playbooks. It's not about down systems. It's about services that take customers on a journey that they see value in, and doing that on a mass customized basis. That's what AI really could do. It could allow us to take customers on a customized journey driven by AI to the next leg of value, the next leg of value, the next leg of value on a mass basis. Think about that. On a mass basis, taking each customer on a unique journey to the next leg of value in our solutions. If your company likes its service revenue, I think you better be thinking those thoughts. Again, where's the heat today? Cost takedown, cost takedown, cost takedown. We can over-rotate on that. Consumer support never recovered. We never got consumers to start paying for service and support again, right? Think about that. We never recovered that revenue. You don't, as consumers, you don't really often expect, you might, have a broken device and blah, blah, blah. But in general, we all think consumer technology should be free support. We have got to balance these two things. How are we going to do that? Well, it's interesting when you think about your portfolios today. You have portfolios that promise everything you see here. Promise, we're going to keep your system operational, your people operational, and if there's problems, we're going to solve those problems. Problems with usage, problems with systems, problem with whatever it is, going to keep your system operational. Our portfolio says, and we're going to go beyond that. We're going to constantly, check in with you. We're going to do QBRs. We're going to do all these things. We're going to take you to the next level of value. Our portfolios all say that. Look at your caseload. Look at your caseload. Where is your caseload? Your caseload is over on the left-hand side of that. The number of cases that you're actually doing to take customers to the next level of value or managed outcomes or whatever, the actual experience we have there is pretty limited. What our portfolios offer and what our organizations and our people and our process and our technology are really oriented toward is solving problems. But this stuff we're talking about, this next generation of customer experience, of engagement between us and our customers at scale, is about operating on the right side of that equation. So why should you be in this chair in 2025? Why should you be in your chair in 2025? Because you know that your 20 years of experience is valuable, but it's valuable, but we have to open our minds to the fact that there are bold new thoughts that AI are going to enable that are going to create new levels of value through services that will allow us to achieve both protect and growing services revenue and improving the value that our customers get from our solutions. Where we are today, where we have to go, is going to be a challenge. It's going to involve new norms. There's going to be a competitor who breaks through with a new service capability in AI, and you're going to be behind. And you're going to race to catch up. Then you're going to come up with something new that puts them behind, and you're going to race to catch up. They're going to race to catch up. You're going to come to a TSIA conference, and you're going to hear about a company in a field far away from your competitive set doing something super creative, and you're going to want to roll that in. The reason it's important, and the reason I'm telling you all this, is I'm going to ask you, those two boxes, what color would your CFO paint those two boxes? Here's what the CFO sees. Microsoft has 221,000 people, 40% of which are involved in servicing customers. The biggest organization at Microsoft. Oracle has about 160,000 employees. 42% are involved in serving customers. Cisco has, or had, 85,000 employees. 32%. Again, the biggest single organization in these companies, the biggest single cost in these companies is services labor. You wonder why the heat is around cost takedown? Because that's what the CFO sees. And just like a long time ago, the CFOs took control of the services business for consumers, and they screwed it up. And we have never, ever, ever recovered. The CFO says, well, yeah, that may detract from the service value prop, but we can take a lot of labor out of the equation. Let's do it. The CFO says, well, wait a minute. I know you think that's going to add value to the proposition of your services portfolio, but it's going to actually add cost? Nah. Let's not do it. Right? If we don't defend and protect those two boxes, we run a lot of risk that in the long term will hurt our customers. A better answer is a horse trade. Hey, we'll do this to take some labor out of the cost of the model. I understand. And yes, that may detract a little bit from the service value proposition, may make customers perceive like, it's not expensive for us to deliver these services. And okay, we can do some of that, but I also have to stand up these new value propositions around driving business outcomes for customers and value realization. So if you want to take a whack at a cost that is also going to take a whack out of the value proposition, I want the money to reinvest in new capabilities that are driving the value proposition of our whole solution up to the customer. If you aren't prepared to make those arguments, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So everything, even though the heat right now is around cost takedown, that's what everybody's after right now, I would argue you have got to be a champion. And by the way, it's not just you, because a lot of these things, as Thomas was talking about, as Phil was talking about, these things are not things that services can do alone. The bucket brigade is going to die, and it should die. It's a really crappy way. It's a crappy customer experience. Like, you go through a whole sales process, you tell the salesperson everything you're trying to do and, what your business objectives are and whatever, and then the deal gets done and the services team shows up and they go, okay, now what are we doing here? And the customer's like, oh, I just spent a year telling these other guys, about our business and what we're trying to do. That just isn't going to stand anymore, right? So this isn't something that you can do alone, but it's incredibly important. So I don't care that some of you are more AI advantaged and some of you are less. For some of you, building these new capabilities into the product is going to be easy to do because you're connected to the product. Your product is, modern. You can actually intercede in an actual user experience. And others of us are going to have to build things that wrap around technology. They may even have to phone home, right? But there's no excuse. We've got to go do this. What happens if your customer says, I've got some vendors that are giving me an unbelievable experience, driving me to the next leg of value, and I have others that simply can't? Who's going to win that customer's share of wallet? So this becomes a competitive issue. And it's also going to be a pricing and packaging issue. Any Tesla owners in here? Would y'all sell? It used to be you bought a car, it had a set of features, it came at a price, you were done. Now, you can buy a car at a price, and then you can add options that are software-driven options. You can add later, right? You're going to have that capability. You're going to say, hey, we can turn on these advanced service capabilities for value realization, and you can pick and choose what you want, so you can have a la carte offers. You can take your current support bundles, and as you pull things out, you add new things in. So you're going to have pricing and packaging decisions to make around this new world that are going to be super important. Super important. It's not going to be easy. As I said, when I think about the two issues, cost takedown, I would say that's evolutionary, and that you guys are ready for this. You're going to do super well. It's going to go super fast. I'm 100% confident. I am worried about the value props. I am worried about it. These two existential questions. Every time you get asked the one on the right, you have to think about the one on the left. That's what I'm asking you to do. Every time you get asked something on the right, think about the left. This is an industry revenue chart. We track the revenue of the 50 largest technology companies in the world, and we break it into their product-based revenue and their services and as-a-service revenue. And this is what's happened over the last 10 years. This is not a made-up chart. This is real data from the largest technology companies in the world. So when we ask the question, do we like our services revenue? We do. I am sorry, the purists who say we shouldn't need services, our product should be so good, I'm sorry. We got P&Ls that rely on this services revenue. You take those P&Ls out and the company tilts, right? So we have got to defend and protect the P&L, and you also have to defend and protect value realization. We cannot let the accountants take over. That's you, by the way. You look super good. Like you got your sword up and your... But I'm serious. Getting customers to, this renewals challenge? The way you overcome the renewals challenge is you drive the value of the solution to a point where the customer can't not renew, right? It's good for them, it's good for you. Martin was talking about courage, getting on the roller coaster and saying, oh, I think I left my courage back there. And I think he's right. When you get asked to do things that are going to cut costs, but are going to compromise the value proposition, you have to have courage there. You have to say, well, wait a minute. Let's talk this through. Let's think this through. And you're going to do that because you have the wisdom to think about both of those things at once. The impact on the P&L, the impact on the value of the customer, and the willingness of the customer to pay for the services that we rely on to make sure the customers get value out of the solution. Fortunately, this community was built for this moment. We are generating more research, more content, more data to help you navigate in whatever area of services you're in, to help you navigate this in as straight a line as possible. We have tons of content already on how AI will change the delivery of services. We have tons of content already on how to navigate through this journey, including how to realize value for customers using AI. We have more content coming out every single week on this topic, and now you can sit all by yourself on your mobile device or on your laptop, and you can ask question after question after question after question. It's a pretty powerful moment. We built this community. We're under NDA with all of you. You're giving us the good news, the bad news. We're searching through that to try to find the patterns of success and the patterns of failure, even on bleeding edge topics, because our research engine has gotten so fast. From the time we see that we're getting a lot of questions asked in an area where we don't have answers, we can answer those questions in weeks from all of you, because we're all networked together into this thing called TSIA, and all you're going to have to do is go ask. It is part evolution. It is part disruption. We are the defenders of customer value. We are the defenders of the service revenue stream. We can't let the accountants take over. Thank you very much.